thank you very much for having us here. We're very happy to be part of this Soccerex event. As you said, we are, of course, the European Stadium and Safety Management Association. We work with different stadiums throughout Europe, more than 350 members. And what we do is we try to provide them with a platform for knowledge sharing and networking. Part of how we do that is by surveying our members and by publishing benchmark reports throughout the year. The latest one of which is, as you said, the COVID-19 report or COVID-19 survey. And the learnings from that is what we will want to present here today in our research in this preparing venues for the new normal. Next slide, please. So yeah, as I said, we have over 350 members throughout Europe, 18 leagues, and over 3,200 industry professionals in our network, and we focus on 6 main expert areas. Next. And in this latest survey, we have, as you said, 36 European clubs, 8 league federations, and 26 industry suppliers who provided their feedback, how they are actually preparing their venues for the new normal, as you can see with a geographical spread as well as a spreading capacity of the venues. Next. So the first finding was the main challenges for this COVID-19 pandemic, which are linked right now due to this COVID-19 pandemic, but also some opportunities that we are seeing, mainly linked to the breakthrough of new technologies in the stadium, which are linked to different kinds of technologies. For example, thermal CCTV cameras and everything linked to tracking stadiums, tracking fans in the stadium and contact tracing, the high pressure cleaning, sanitization and disinfection of the stadiums, the whole contactless parts of stadiums like mobile ticketing, mobile pre-ordering, and things like that that are really limiting the touch points in the stadium and making them a safer environment by doing so. And then finally, the individual testing kits which are having a breakthrough right now. Next. So how are they actually preparing for the new normal? Next. As we see, stadium operators and fans alike are very willing to have fans come back to the stadium and very eager to do so. But this is, of course, only possible when we have certain hygienic measures and preventive measures in place. So there are several surveys, one of which we have highlighted here, that are asking fans what would actually need to be introduced in stadiums before they would be willing to come back. 72% expect, for example, disinfecting gels to be available. They expect stadiums to open their doors earlier and spread arrival times, something that a lot of stadiums are doing at the moment. They expect there to be a demand to wear face masks. And then at the other side, there's also an opportunity for clubs, as 53% of fans say that they would like to buy club branded sanitary products like face masks and gloves. Next. So what we saw throughout our talks with industry professionals and clubs and industry suppliers was that there's mainly 12 main topics that they are linking this new fan experience to. We have developed a 12-step plan that fans can or that clubs can go through to prepare their stadium for the new normal. As you can see here, it's also available in full detail on our websites and in our report. I won't go into each and every one of these topics right now, but I'll just highlight a couple of them. But it's very important to know that it's all of these things that have to come together in able to create a safer environment for stadiums right now, which starts with the creation of new policies and procedures, but also goes over staff training, communication and signage, which is very important, the crowd management, the changes in catering and merchandising, as well as the dynamic staff management and disinfection, all topics very important to create a safer environment. So we'll just highlight a couple of these topics right now. Next slide, please. Yes, next. So the first thing that I want to highlight is the second step of this 12-step program, which is linked to staff training and PPEs. It's very important to really give new training to your staff to prepare them for this new normal, as they're also not used to working in these circumstances and will need to learn a whole range of new topics to deal with. For example, identifying the symptoms of fans in the stands, conflict management, as some fans are not really willing maybe to adhere to the new measures, what to do with potential patients, sending them to first aid, how to handle PPEs, tracking their contact points during the match, and sanitizing the venue. So these are all new topics to the staff, and they need to be prepared for this, preferably through online modules instead of in-person lessons. Besides that, there's also something to be said for training for other staff, not just stewards, who can have peer-to-peer control during the match to see if measures are actually being respected, who need to be introduced to new catering protocols and first aids for potential patients, as well as the new systems for dynamic staff management. It's also important to provide personal protection equipment or PPEs for all of your staff. So that includes gloves, masks, plastic separation at points of sales, things like that. Need to be provided for all of your staff in the stadium on match days, but might also be important to remind your external partners that they need to provide these PPEs as well for their staff. And also incentivizing your visitors to provide their own PPEs for themselves to make the environment safer. Next slide. Then the next step that I want to highlight here is the new approach to ticketing and seating. I think a lot of clubs are actually working with this at the moment. The SGSA, which is the Sports Ground Safety Authority in the UK, has developed two different methods of measuring this new social distancing. The first method, which is a 1 meter diameter circle centered on the head. And the second method, which is maybe, at least in Belgium here, more popular, I think, is a 1.5 meter diameter circle when you are seated, or a 1.6 meter diameter circle when you are standing or walking. So it actually takes into account the width and the depth of an individual body, just to make sure that this social distancing is respected at all times in different circumstances. Next slide. Then based not only on this, which method is used, but also based on seat width, the depth of seating rows, the allocation of your seats, the width of the radial gangways, and all these different elements, you can actually start to calculate the new capacity of your stadium under social distancing, which according to the calculations right now should be somewhere between 17 and 33%, again, based on all these different factors. Of your normal stadium capacity, which is, I think, also something we are seeing right now in practice. For example, even last night we had the UEFA Super Cup final in Puskás Arena, which is normally a 67,000 seat stadium, but now had 20,000 fans, and something that we are seeing at a lot of stadiums at the moment, sticking to that, more or less 30% capacity of the normal capacity. We are seeing some clubs at the moment even doing this manually, this new ticketing system, which is very, very labor intensive. So a better solution maybe right now is that there are also a lot of industry suppliers who have actually integrated this new social distancing, this new ticketing and seating allocation in their ticketing systems, and they do it all automatically within the new rules of social distancing. Next slide. The next step is step 8, ingress and crowd management, that I will highlight right here. So all entrance points right now, not different as in the past, but it's really important that they have to be monitored all the time. They also have to be equipped now with sanitizing stations, and they can be used as a testing or screening point at the moment that people enter, just to make it safer once again. And in order to really limit the touch points, also at the access points, is a move towards touchless ingress. So we're seeing a lot of clubs now looking at the introduction of mobile ticketing, a clear back policy just to skip those frisks, and an introduction of more metal detectors and scanners, as well as a spread arrival time per seating section, again, just to limit those touch points between fans and between staff. Next slide. In terms of crowd management, we are seeing a lot of clubs introducing a crowd management software. As we can see here in the picture, it's also being used by Amazon in their product house where the staff work. So cameras can actually be introduced or integrated with a certain software that tracks fans, or in this case, staff, throughout the venue, and that actually automatically will send you an alert if there is an introduction of or if they are not respecting the social distance. So you can, yeah, you can see that, and you can make the necessary adjustments where it's necessary. And then finally, we're also seeing biometric identification in certain countries where it's allowed to even have more control on the access zones by scanning their staff, by seeing who is allowed to go in, who is not allowed to go in, and can even be combined with temperature scanning, which is at the moment not foul-proof, but it's just an extra measure that can be taken. And our industry suppliers have assured us that this even works with face masks. Up to 70% of the face can be covered for this biometric identification to work. Next slide. Then I want to speak a little bit more about the impact on stadium design that this COVID-19 pandemic is having at the moment. So we'll go to, at the moment, when we speak to architects, there's nothing that they can say about the long-term effects, but they're seeing two topics at the moment that are coming up, which are linked to spatial requirements and the contactless stadium. So when we look at space, it's, of course, as we said before, important to provide more space at the moment to limit these touch points, which we can see in wider concourses and hallways, redesigned access routes, redesigned parking lots, and especially more and wider entrance gates. And then, as we said before, the contactless stadium, so contactless payment, mobile pre-ordering, mobile tickets, and the contactless restroom design even, again, to limit those touch points and to really move the stadium to the future. Next slide, please. Yes, next. So as a conclusion, we can say that COVID-19 has, of course, had a huge impact on the stadium industry. We're seeing stadium operators and fans who are really eager to get crowds back in the stadium, but they expect certain measures to be introduced before they can do it. So venues are actually introducing new protocols and solutions based on new technologies. And this is something that is actually, it has been there for some more modern venues already. So we can say that they're actually kind of better prepared thanks to their connectivity that they have, to their mobile pre-ordering and mobile ticketing, things like that, and larger spaces that they are providing. So if there's one positive point that we can take away from this COVID-19 pandemic, I think we can say that through these new measures that venues are now introducing to be able to host crowds during COVID-19, they're not just preparing themselves for this COVID-19 crisis, but also preparing themselves for the future, as they're introducing new technologies that will make their venues more efficient and ultimately create a better fan experience for the future through things like mobile ticketing, mobile pre-ordering, and the things that we've said and highlighted before. So at least maybe there's one positive point that we can say that is coming forward there thanks to these new technologies. Next slide, please. So one final afterthought, I would like to say that we are, for our members now, organizing the ESSMA Spotlight event, which will have several of our members sharing their cases and experiences during COVID-19, but also linked to connectivity, safety, and things like that. So we would like to invite all of our members to register for this event. And then the next and final slides. I would very much like to thank you for listening to this presentation, and I would like to encourage you, if you have any questions, to contact us at ESSMA, and we would be very happy to answer these questions for you as best as we can. So thank you for having us here at Soccerex, and I will give the word back to Ben. So thank you very much.